Good afternoon everyone and welcome on board the Sunset Safari. If you haven't met me before, my name is Scott and I'm teamed up with Andrew, who's freshly back from Johannesburg and so happy to be back in the bush. As we were driving here, he couldn't believe how green it has become in the short time that he's been away. How long has it been, Andrew?
About 16 days.
About 16 days, so not that short, but it's incredible how quickly the bush transforms. And what's wonderful is taking a small break away and coming back, and then you really get to notice some huge changes as we head into the summertime. Now, we had a Cape turtle dove earlier feeding on probably little grass seeds and also a dwarf mongoose, and they were both maybe keeping an eye out for one another, making sure no predators swoop down on them. And they've sadly moved off now, but it's a good start to the afternoon. Most certainly, it's very hot. It's about 30 degrees, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So the animals are probably going to be not hugely active, especially the larger animals and the predators, for the first few moments of the show, first few hours rather of the show. And then we can really expect the bush to come alive. We can expect to hear a lot more bird calls and hopefully to find some predators. Speaking of which, we didn't have any luck this morning. It was Jamie and James who were out searching. The 5 Birmingham males are still on a buffalo kill, but apparently there's not very much left of it. Interestingly enough, one of the Nkuhuma lioness is also there with them, and she's been showing a lot of affection, trying to get them to mate with her, but none of them have given in, but at least they are accepting her socially, and that's a good step for the Nkuhuma pride, because hopefully now the rest of the pride will also be accepted and there will be no more killing of lioness. Junior, on the other hand, the young male of the Nkuhuma pride, probably has some work still cut out for him. I'm not sure what's going to happen to him, but we'll discuss that a bit later. Now, this is a live safari, and due to that fact, there's a lot of things that happen that are not planned, and that's what we all love about this concept and about the show, that you're involved in this adventure and we simply do not know what is going to happen next. And not only is it live, but we can also chat with you guys if you'd like to send either myself or James, the other presenter who you're going to be meeting shortly. If you want to send us any questions or comments, it's very easy to do so. And if you haven't done it before and you are a regular viewer, please just let us know who you are and where you're watching, even if you don't want to ask a question. And to do that, you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. It's Jess and Nikki in the final control room this afternoon, and there's some other interesting and exciting news about what's going on here. The third vehicle is heading out with the walking backpack with Steph, as well as a drone. So we're trying to do our best to get the drone up and running so that we can send you a live feed from up in the sky, bird's eye view. It's going to be an incredible view, and who knows, maybe later this afternoon you'll get to see it. I don't think so. There's still a little bit of fine-tuning that does need to be done, but very good prospects for the bird's eye view. It's going to change everyone's perspectives of this wilderness area and give you a great idea of how large it is. And we will therefore, I think, be able to justify quite reasonably not being able to find animals from time to time when you realize how vast the blocks are between all of the roads. And it's something quite fun and exciting for the cameramen. They're going to have to now become drone pilots, so adding a new dimension to not only the viewers' lives, you guys, but also to the crew here. We're very excited about the new toy. Let's hope it doesn't go swimming in the Djuma waterhole as it did a couple of weeks ago when a propeller went flying off. Well, I hope the signal holds as we drop down into this riverbed. But because it is hot, I would like to take you through a cool area in the hope that we may find some animals seeking refuge in this shady area. Is driving through here. massive leadwood trees are the ones with the white bark that you can see. There's quite a few of them, and they tend to grow in small groves, often along riverbeds like this. One of the most dense and heavy woods of this area. I hope you guys are still with me. I fear that the picture may be a little bit jumpy. And it really is bizarre how on one day the signal will be fine here. Well, the first question of the afternoon has already come through, thanks to Donald. And good to have you on board. Don would like to know if we have a chance of possibly seeing a Thompson's gazelle here at Djuma. And sadly not, Donald, you do not get them in South Africa at all, but we do get a similar gazelle called a springbuck in the drier, more arid areas. This is really awesome. I'm just going to stop here and let Andrew show you the beautiful purple flowers of a tree wisteria in full bloom. But while we zoom in to the flowers, we're going to send you across to James quickly. He's found you something exciting. So we'll stand by here. See you later.
Welcome back, everybody. Just a massive thing of vultures. Not welcome back, welcome for the first time. Huge conglomeration of vultures swirling around Wendy. They seem to have just come off the ground at the Buffalo Kill, where the Birmingham boys have been supping on a hapless bovid in Buffalo's Hook. I think they've all come off the ground and they're now picking up on the thermals and disappearing. It's just a fantastic sight to have them wheeling overhead like this. Gee whiz, there all sorts of species. They're white-headed, hooded, white-backed. I haven't seen a lappet-faced yet. It is just magnificent. And they're gaining height at an incredible rate. There's definitely a lot of huge thermal. Wherever we're sitting, there's some thermal that's going up off the ground and lifting these birds up into the sky. VM doesn't even know where to point the camera. There's so many of these things. So just a quick recap, everyone. For those of you who don't know, I'm James, and on camera today is VM, and he is trying desperately to keep up with the vultures wheeling over our heads. Just north of us is Buffalo's Hook, which is a property we can't traverse, but of course the animals traverse at will, and the Birmingham boys have been eating a buffalo there for the last 2 days. 5 young male lions busy taking over this territory, and these vultures, I suspect, have just finished what little there was left, and they're now up and flying, looking for their next piece of carrion. Then the other thing is that we've got some lion tracks here. I don't know where they're going. They've come in on the road here. I couldn't tell you who they are or why they're here, especially as they weren't here, I don't think, this morning. So we're going to follow up and see what we can find around this area. Otherwise, we'll go up towards the cut line and see if we can't follow up on the tracks of the Nkuhuma Pride that were found earlier this morning. It all seems to be happening. One doesn't want to count one's chickens, or vultures, as it were, because these lions have been very difficult the last few days. So I'm just having a very hard listen as to what's going on around us. You can see now the conglomeration . Magnificent. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Scott. I'm going to go off on foot and see if I can't see where these tracks of the lions went, and I will see you hopefully with some good news in just a little while. Enjoy the flowers, and I'll see you just now.
Welcome back to the purple flowers of the tree wisteria, and I'm glad we rushed you across onto James's vehicle. It sounds like you had a wonderful sighting. These are all the bright purple flowers of the tree wisteria, and Andrew's having to tweak the camera settings because we are on the wrong side of the sun in order to show you how purple they are. Quite a few little bugs, I can't tell exactly what they are, buzzing around those flowers, doing their job, pollinating them. And we can expect to see a lot more insects. There could have been chafer beetles, perhaps, that may even be feeding on the flowers. Beautiful. So, Donald, back to your question about the Thompson's gazelle. Sadly, we don't get them here in South Africa, but you do get them further north in Africa, mainly in Tanzania and Kenya is where I know they exist, and that's where I've seen them before. You also get the slightly larger Grant's gazelle, two very wonderful antelope that you don't get in South Africa, but we do have the springbok. That's probably the closest relative to either the dwarf mongoose, the Thompson's gazelle or the Grant's gazelle. And interestingly enough, it is the emblem for our national rugby team, and South Africa is a very proud nation when it comes to rugby. So that's the little emblem. It's a springbok flying through the air. Generally though, Donald, gazelles will like open areas with lots of grassland, which is not the area we're in here. This is mixed thornveldt. So nowhere in the Kruger do you get any gazelle. And we must remember that the Kruger National Park, with which we are a part of, we only form our reserve 65,000 hectares of 3 million. And there's quite drastic changes in vegetation and climate as you move through about 300 kilometers, which makes up the park. And even in all those different biomes and habitats, there's none that are suitable for the gazelles. This morning's drive of Shadow and possibly Madiba, somewhere around the northwestern corner of Djuma, and we'll probably head there a little bit later, but like I said earlier, it's still hot and I don't think the predators are going to be up to much. Of course, there's a small chance that we could come around the corner and there could be a leopard walking towards us. They often do. I heard it. You will be getting back to us shortly, and we've just found ourselves a wonderful opportunity to give you an incredibly low angle shot. A beautiful big male Inyala bull, and he is slightly out of shot now, but I'm hoping he's going to continue to feed towards us. You can see the tiny little ivory tips which make up the last 2 inches probably of its horns. And like all the herbivores of this area, they are loving the surge of green. Look at what an awesome angle this is. For those of you who have been following the safaris, you have probably realized now that I am very fond of showing you the animals from a lower angle. It gives you such a different perspective. And that's one of the beauties of being on foot with that new walking backpack that allows us to transmit whilst on a walking safari. Am I dreaming, or did I see a spider crawling up somewhere? It looked like there was a spider that crawled through the frame, but I can't work out where it was. Maybe it was a wasp flying through. Just seemed to be scrambling up a little piece of webbing though. Any luck there, Andrew?
Negative.
Is it hiding from us? Anyway, that's something we will be seeing a lot more of. Lots of spiders, mainly the golden orb web spider. It's a very impressive spider in its size as well as color. And they make very, very strong webs that are quite large and sticky. And we get them wrapped around our face from time to time. Great, well I'm glad we had at least a few moments with the Inyala. Interestingly, it's actually appears to be grazing now, and maybe it is eating small leaves. And that's typically what they eat. They typically browse on leaves, but at this time of the year, after a very dry, rainy season, the grasses have been the first and the most productive in terms of vegetation, responding to the first rains. So there's a lot of green grass that's popping up, and when Inyala are desperate, they will mix up their diet a little bit and be happy to nibble on these fresh green grassy shoots. So as I was saying though, the quarantine young male leopard, who's probably around 3 years old now, was seen yesterday on Torchwood, and interestingly enough he was scent marking as well as vocalizing quite heavily, and it's something that I never saw. I never saw him vocalize that loud rasping and coming bigger and stronger and that, but probably still has another 2 years before he does become big enough and bold enough to dominate a territory of his own. What he'll be doing now, even though he is scent marking, is probably flying below the radar in areas where there's not too much leopard activity or male leopard activity. But the fact that he's calling, he's letting the other males know that he's around. And hopefully it won't be too long before he pops back home for a visit. They spent probably close on the first 2.5 years of their life in and around Djuma, and over the first kind of 6 or 7 months of my time here on Safari Live, him and his brother were the most viewed leopard. We had incredible sightings with them and spent more time with those two than any others. I've been desperately scanning all the bushes we're driving past in the hope of spotting a chameleon, and I'm so desperate to find one that I've been doing it a lot of the time during the day, which is probably a huge waste of my time because the chances of spotting a well camouflaged chameleon in the tree is close to zero. However, it could happen, and I'm probably going to keep trying anyway during the day, but at night our chances become far greater when we use the spotlight, as they show up a paler shade than the rest of the bush that they're sitting in, and they've got a very distinctive shape of that of a chameleon with their little row or tail curled up like a Swiss roll. And I can't wait to start finding some more of them to show you. They're such wonderful animals. Although the great thing about finding one during the daytime as opposed to night is that we'll be awake. At night when we see them, they are fast asleep, and we try not to disturb them too much. That's one animal that I would like to hopefully show you this afternoon. Another snake would be great on the topic of reptiles. We saw quite a surge of snakes after the first rains, but our luck has diminished since then. At one stage we were almost seeing a snake a day, sometimes 2 or 3 in one day, not necessarily on the drives but in and around camp, which tends to get quite a few people excited. Naturally, as a lot of people are very, very scared of snakes. It's interesting because not many people have been bitten by one or even know anyone that's been bitten by one. And that, coupled with the fact that most of them are not really venomous or dangerous to animals of our size, we don't have too much to worry about, thankfully. So we nearly finished our riverbed cruise, sadly, and what that means is we're going to pop out close to Twin Dams. It's very dry at the moment. It'll be actually interesting to see how dry it is. I haven't been past in a few days, but that little bit of rain we had managed to pick the water levels up ever so slightly, but I fear that now it may have dropped down completely again. So a little muddy wallow. We can do something a little bit different. And see if Andrew can take on a kind of a different type of a tour of a tree. Is this going to work?
I think so.
Well, I hope you're back with us, guys. This is a view that I don't think I've showed you before of a beautiful, beautiful jackalberry tree. I always look at the larger specimens of this tree and think to myself, if I owned a piece of land here, I would certainly build a little tree house or platform up in there. There's so much structure that you can use, and it would be wonderful to be tangled up amongst all these branches, sleeping out overnight. I've never seen a leopard in this one. I've seen a leopard in the next one downstream from us, but it's a strange thing that I do, is I see trees that I like for their beauty and then always wish to see a leopard in them, and every time I drive past them I have to make sure there isn't one lying there. Until the day that one does finally show up. Obviously I have left lots of different areas having not fulfilled this wish of seeing the leopard up in some of my favorite trees, but this is one of them. So remember it, and hopefully it won't be long before we do find you a leopard up there. The tree that I was talking about, I'll actually go and show you now. It's just a little bit downstream from us, and interestingly enough, it was a very memorable sighting for a few reasons. It was the first time that any of us, well, Brent and myself who were presenting at the time, had seen Kwatile, the female leopard that some of you got to see yesterday, that Jamie tracked down in both the morning and the afternoon. She was mating with Tingana yesterday, but a few months ago, probably 5 or 6, she was mating with Mvula, and she walked down. This is actually a crazy, crazy story, so I'm going to try and explain it as best as possible to you. Basically, from our right to our left, Mvula and Kwatile were walking down towards the riverbed, and Karula, another female, older female, was following behind them, only about 150 or 200 meters behind them, keeping a close eye on them. Kwatile was deep into Karula's territory, and Karula was just making sure that she was okay with that. She didn't actually confront them that I saw, but she certainly knew what was going on. And we followed them down, and it was in the summer months, so this waterhole was full, and the mating pair, Mvula and Kwatile, came down and had a drink just in front of me, where my hand is here. So they were drinking just about there, and we were watching the beautiful sighting. It was after dark, and Andrew from Cheetah Plains, another guide, was making his way in to join us. And he was coming from the southern side of the dam, so the other side of the dam, and you can see the dam wall over here. So he was coming from the other side of the road, and the ground drops quite far below that dam wall, so you can't really see anything approaching. But because Andrew was coming from that side, he noticed two of the Styx lioness, two female lions, heading straight towards the waterhole. And as soon as he saw them, he told us. We shone the spotlights up, and all we could see sticking over the dam wall were the eyes and ears of these two lioness looking down at the leopards. So Brent made the very wise call of saying, everybody, lights off, we can't interfere here, no vehicles running. So we switched off and waited in the dark, and that was the best thing to do, because then both the lion and the leopard can see one another. It's fair, it's as if we're not even there, and we're not illuminating either of them or blinding either of them. The leopards then got wind of these lion and came rocketing out to my left, up towards the jackalberry tree where I'm about to show you, and the lions came chasing afterwards. So we'll drive the route that they ran to that jackalberry now. And basically, I just need to tell you one more part of the story. After this all happened, and the lions went chasing those two leopards up into the tree, Karula came down and drank from the other end of the dam. Now this was all within like 20 minutes of one another, and there was a breeding herd of elephants who got caught up in the mix, and they ended up chasing us and charging us because of all the commotion that was going on. So it was an adrenaline charged sighting, and both myself and Brent were presenting that afternoon. The other vehicle had caught fire, so it was no longer working that afternoon, and we joined up for the fun. So the lions chased the leopards from my left across this road, and they managed to get to this jackalberry here on my right. And just up on this branch over here, Mvula was lying down, and Kotila at one stage was up over there, but then she came and tried to seduce him here. The lions, once they realized the leopards were up the tree and not easy to get to, they moved off and lay down by the waterhole. But this is another beautiful jackalberry. Thankfully ticked off the leopard box, leopard ebony tree combo. You can see there's a bit of a breeze this afternoon, which is certainly helping. You hear the word drainage line, and while we drove through there, Ginny took a liking to the tree wisteria and would like to know, what do those purple flowers smell like? I couldn't smell them from there, and to be completely honest, I can't remember what they do smell like. But next time we drive past one, there's another one flowering up on Buffels or Cutline, or we can make our way back to that one. I'll jump out and go and have a closer look and let you exactly know whether they are fragrant or not. So that's one purple flower that's out at the moment. Another one is sprouting out of the ground from the baboon stick lily. So that's another purple flower we can show you in the coming drives, and there'll be a lot more as the summer unfolds. Just checking very carefully for any tracks here. It's a very, very important way for us to orange-breasted bushruff. Just zoom in. Welcome back, everyone. I'm not sure if you are still with us, I hope you are. This is such a bird. The sulphur-breasted or orange-breasted bush shrike. And it's going to become a lot harder to see them as the vegetation becomes thicker and thicker through the summer. So it's important for us to make the most of these opportunities. They can be quite shy and secretive. I'm glad we got you a little glimpse there. What's it going to do next? It might not be completely over yet, although it isn't very thick bush, but it could hop out into a little opening. Giving Andrew a good challenge here as he's fresh back from leave. Oh, I wonder if did it look like it? I think it caught an insect there and gobbled it up very quickly. Not sure if you guys managed to see anything, but that's what it's doing. It's hunting, and interestingly, quite a few birds that hunt in trees, and even the berry-eating birds, will start at the base of the tree and then work their way up. And when they get to the top, they fly to the base of the next tree. I think this one's probably just a bit lower down. There we go. Well done, Andrew. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. There's a very similar looking one. It's cousin called the grey-headed bush shrike, but it's far larger and it's got a much bigger, robust bill. How awesome. Well, while we enjoy watching this little orange-breasted bush shrike flittering about, Gail in Rhode Island would like to know if that riverbed will ever flow during the rainy summer months. And yes, it certainly will, Gail. It will flow for short periods of time. The last rainy season where I was here, we didn't get very much rain. So I'm guessing in a normal rainfall year, it will flow more than it did when I was here for my first summer. But it certainly did flow from time to time when we got heavy rains. And that is something to look forward to. There's nothing better than walking down a riverbed that's been washed down and washed clean with the water. And you get beautiful, beautiful scenery. Great. Well done there, Andrew. Good camera work. And good to know that Dr. Edward, and welcome on board. Now, I'm not only happy to hear that you are joining us on safari this afternoon, but also happy to for the spider's well-being. And I'm not sure, I might not have understood exactly clearly, but are you worried about the lack of rainfall or too much rainfall that we could expect this summer, which may affect the arachnids in this area, especially the golden orb web spider? And if it's the lack of rain we experienced in the last summer months, I don't think it would have caused too much of an issue for them. I think there was still enough insects around to allow the golden orb web spiders to have a successful season. All of the adults would have died at the end of last summer, and all that would have remained were their eggs, which would have hatched by now. They'll be very, very small and difficult for us to find. I haven't seen a tiny golden orb web spider yet. And as long as those eggs were left safely, which they were during the dry and winter months, what's more important is that this coming season is a good one. So I don't think there's anything to worry about, and I think we will still see a lot of golden orb web spiders. Also, I should probably mention that even though it was a dry year, it wasn't exceptionally dry, and we couldn't say exactly that it was a drought. It was just a little bit harder for the vegetation and therefore the animals that feed on the vegetation during the winter months. And it's important from time to time. In this area there's a kind of cycle where every 5 to 7 years we could experience a drought, and that's been happening for many years, and that keeps certain animals numbers in checks, insects, large mammals, vegetation. Happen too often. What droughts also do is create a time of plenty for the large carnivores like lions and leopards and hyena, because they've got a lot of easy, weak prey running around. So let's watch this space, Dr. Edwards, and hopefully we'll be able to find you some tiny little golden orb spiders and then monitor them growing. They'll get to about this big, including their legs, but they're quite thin and spindly. Don't worry though, you'll get to see some soon. But for now, we are going to send you across to see a different change of scenery, and that is with James. So enjoy, and we will catch up with you a little bit later. No worries, that's a change of plans. You back with me. This has just hopped out of the vehicle, very excited. Maybe he's found something interesting for you, or maybe he's just jumped out to check something, get a branch out from underneath the vehicle, clear a branch, disappearing out of shot. So, oh great. I'm actually glad that happened, because just a few moments ago we were chatting about the purple flowers of the baboon stick lily, which is down to our right here, and I'm glad we've already been able to get to show you one. Because I couldn't tell you what the other flowers smelt like, I'm going to see if these are very pungent. Sorry, my shadow's in the way, but I'm just going to... Ooh, beautiful. A very kind of, you could say, common rose petal-like smell. Just got some thorns in my toes, as I'm barefoot due to the heat today, but all good. I've recovered. Andrew couldn't resist showing you. But it smells very similar to any kind of regular flower. It's not very distinct, but very flowery in fragrance. And I was quite surprised at how pungent they are. It's incredible how quickly these little shoots have sprouted up. And the flowers, it's important to know that it's the flowers sprouting out of these green shoots, which are sprouting out of these very dry sticks called baboon stick lily, this plant. And they've also done very well after the short amount of rain, and in just about 2 weeks they've managed to pop out their flowers. Great.
Apparently there's a leopard at Gallagher.
Okay, thank you Andrew, that's an update we couldn't wait for. Hold on everyone, we need to go quickly. There's a report, as you heard from Andrew, of a leopard at Gallagher. And I'm not sure, oh my door wasn't closed. Best we fix that. Okay, we're good to go. We're probably about 4 minutes away from there. It's such a tricky area to find leopard because it's thick. And I know Karula spends time there. We haven't seen her for quite a while. And it won't be the first time we are responding to a sighting of her there when we get there too late. So, hold on. And sorry for the bumpy ride. Sorry, go again. A duiker just went flying across the road, and we're still probably about 4 minutes out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you across to James's vehicle, which is moving at a more leisurely speed, and we'll get you back on here when we're a bit closer by, and let you join in the hunt then. See you later.
Hello everybody, wonderful news that. the beautiful Queen of Juma, who I have only met once, so I'm now feeling a state of green jealousy, much like the spring colours all around us, that Scott is going to go and see Karula, found by Taxon, just outside camp. I'm slightly suspicious that I drove straight past her on the way out, but I'm hoping that she popped out before, at least after I went past, and so then I shan't feel so awfully bad about the situation. So while Scott drives there at great speed, we are going to head towards Buffels Hook Waterhole, and we've come here in search of lions. Those tracks that we found earlier were definitely turned out to be from last night or early this morning, and somebody else had seen them this morning. Anyway, we are now at Buffels Hook Dam, where there were tracks of lions also this morning that Scott and Steph were following, and so we'll see if we can't find something here. It has been a very hot day, well, relatively hot day, and so the chance of something coming down to have a drink are pretty good. And even the cats, you know, if they have been on a kill, or if they haven't and they just have been lying feeling hot, they will be around here and possibly having a drink. Oh, no, they're not. Look at that. There's somebody else. Back on my handheld, so I'm not sure what is being heard in the final control and what isn't. There does appear to be quite here. That is our fearless leader, Graham Wallington, who seems to be about to fly a drone, possibly into the water again. That will result in, of course, some swimming, as it did with me. Just going to have a quick listen around here. I don't think we're going to watch the drone fly, because mainly because should the second one go into the drink, well, I think it'll be quite embarrassing. Be profoundly amusing. The language that will come from, oh, well, there it goes, everybody. You can see it as we speak, the drone going into the air, and we may have the rather amusing sight of one of the propellers flipping off and it popping into Buffels Hook Dam. So this is a new innovation, everyone, and it's quite I think the pictures that this little thing makes are quite spectacular. What they will try and do possibly is put it over us, and then they may even try and broadcast it to you. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible.
It's being piloted by Brian.
Okay.
That's what Brian is driving.
It was Brian's driving it. Alright, we're going to head straight across to Scott. Enough messing around with a large herd of mosquitoes. I believe
Welcome back, everyone, and I'm just letting Aubrey get into position quickly, and then we're going to slot into place. Oh, change of plans. The leopard was just up on a termite mound in this thick bush ahead of us, but she's dropped down, and I wonder who it is. I haven't worked out yet. I haven't had a good look, but we will get a good look very shortly. This is going to be a wonderful, wonderful sighting, as I think she may, if we're lucky, pop into the quarantine clearance. So get ready to take your screenshots, and if you don't know how to take a screenshot, make sure you find out quickly, because this is going to be an opportunity not worth missing. Although she's just changed direction and is no longer heading towards the clearing, but we will get some good views of her shortly. She's just off in the bush to our right here, and I'm planning on looping ahead of her and then waiting for her to come past us. It can be a bit of a tricky business because they tend to zigzag, and if it is Karula, the female leopard that we know quite well, we can expect her to do a lot of jigging and jagging from side to side. Okay, sorry for the abrupt halt. I pushed the brake instead of the clutch. And she is coming towards us, and we're going to get some views shortly. I probably could have gone around a little bit further. Take a look, here she comes. Golden afternoon sunlight. Oh, no ways. She's maintaining and sharpening her claws. Look at this. Perfect. And you'll notice how the claws are protracting out of their sheaths. Who is this? Is this Shadow, or is this her mother Karula? I'm told from the vehicle next door that it's Karula, and there are some guests that have come back here for many years and I've got to know these animals quite well, so thank you very much for that update. And I'm so happy that she didn't head into the very thick areas around where she was found, which was at the Gallagher waterhole. And if she continues in this direction, we could end up spending the whole afternoon with her. I don't think we're going to lose her necessarily. She certainly does look quite hungry. You can see her belly is far from full. And that's also good prospects and probably a good reason as to why she's on the move now. It's still quite warm. And maybe her hunger is driving her to go and look for something to feed on. Wow, wasn't that an absolutely magical start to the sighting? And we're just going to let the other vehicles loop ahead now, and then we're going to slot back into position. That was such an awesome sighting. Oh, and it's been so long since we've seen her that it's a very pleasant surprise. She has been hailed the Queen of Djuma by some, as she was seen a lot more commonly in years gone by than she is today. And that's possibly because her daughter Shadow had not kind of pushed her out of some of her territory, which is what's happened at the moment. And basically Shadow, which was from Karula's first litter, I think, has come in now and now pushed her mother a little bit further to the west, to the east and to the north into Buffalo's Hook. And it's not uncommon for that to happen with leopards. Okay, we're nearly in position again, so don't go anywhere. In this hot weather, Mischian is interested to know whether any animals will potentially die of heat stroke, and not that I'm aware of. Just wanted to get onto the right side of the sun here, and we're going to get some more beautiful views here. Well, taking a closer look at her belly, and I'm seeing a very slight little tube of extra flesh hanging there, and she was seen mating a couple of months ago. There's a little scent mark, and those could be the first signs of the little cubs that will be hopefully born in the next month or so. My abacus and calendar combination may not be serving me well, and it may be a little bit longer than that, but let's hope that she does have cubs quite soon. Her last set of cubs that we know of was lost in December last year, and it is possible that she's given birth to another set and lost all of them as well, because females, once they have lost their cubs, can very quickly fall into season again, and then after 3 month to 10-day gestation give birth to the next litter. So, I've just seen her body language change, so there's possibly some prey up ahead, so that's exciting prospects. Just going to make sure we don't interfere in any way. So I want to just stop here and let you get a closer look at that body language that I'm talking about. can see that little tail of hers twitching from side to side. Her ears are pricked up, listening intently to something up ahead. It's too thick for me to see. Andrew's not in a position to really show you what she's looking at because there's a vehicle in the way, so it's not going to help hugely, but you've got an idea that it's, look at her body language again, they're pricking up from side to side. This is the only leopard that I've managed to be able to share making a kill, and it was actually the day after she lost her cubs last year. She killed a tiny baby impala. But it's the only leopard kill that I think we've documented in the 1 year that we're approaching being here for now. And maybe today that will change. Oh, Andrew spotted something. Well done. What is that? Is that a log?
Yeah.
Well spotted. Well, Karula's certainly not going to be attacking that log, but possibly something behind it. I thought it was an Inyala for a second. Okay, let's watch closely now. The vehicle's probably going to get in the way, but she is lowering her body a little bit. There you can see the tracker seat with the tracker sitting on it, taking a close look at Karula. And that's William. What a beautiful view this is. Big yawn. And it certainly won't be the first time that this tracker William has seen Karula. He's probably found her many, many times on foot. And as you can see, he's completely relaxed there. Her body language now has changed quite drastically, and maybe she has or did just hear something that caught her attention but was a false alarm. Just like us as humans, animals do make mistakes from time to time, and who knows, maybe it wasn't that she was concerned about finding a potential meal ahead, but maybe she was worried that there was a lion there or some other potential threat or danger. So it's not only that they're thinking about hunting, but they also do need to think about their own defense, because other leopards, lion, hyena, can be dangerous to leopards. I probably won't move just yet because she's popped into another small clearing where Andrew can film her from. Another scent mark there, you may have just caught the end of that. What a beautiful, beautiful sight this is. Okay, well, Kari and Ruth are both interested to know a few little things about Karula. One is, what does her name mean? I'm not too sure, so if anybody does know the answer to that, please feel free to share it with us. And the other question was whether or not leopards have twins, or would Kunuma and Quarantine simply have been brothers? And it's the latter, they were just brothers. Oh, we don't want to drive over that. That will leave us with a puncture. So that means I need to change my route a little bit. So no, not twins, but certainly multiple offspring, possibly 3. But usually 2 cubs. And let's hope that she does give birth to, for me, ideally a male and a female. That's the best combination, because you get the best of both worlds. But any cubs will be great, let's be honest. We have never been able to really share sightings of tiny cubs with you, so it'll be good to change that in the coming months. Absolutely awesome. And still on the topic of cubs, hello Janet's in Massachusetts. And Janet's interested to know, will leopards ever get too old to have cubs? And yes, they certainly will. I think the oldest that I've heard of a female leopard giving birth, that is at around 16 years of age, and that is a wild female leopard, not a captive leopard. That will obviously change things greatly. And I have heard of some leopards living to over 20 years in age. That was also female. But the oldest confirmed cubs that have been given birth to was, I think, around 16 or 17 years of age. Again, if any of you know otherwise, please let us know these interesting little facts. And that's the great thing about this live interactive safari. We can solve problems and share ideas and concepts immediately. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. If you know anything more about what we're chatting about, or would like to send through some more questions to discuss. Have to give the other vehicles a quick update. They can't maneuver as easily as we can through this thicker vegetation because the vehicles are much bigger, and it'll just be nice for me to tell them exactly where she's heading. She's into a bit of a tricky area, but I'm just going to stop here. Andrew will be able to get you a few glimpses of her as she melts past us. Afternoon, Jors. I'm still with her here, but she's quite far from the roads. I'll keep you updated as to best road access when she gets a bit closer to one, but for now I'd almost just stand by on Zoe's, or that 2-track that runs up to it from Quarantine. Look at how well she dissolves into the bush. Incredible. Look at that. I love these kinds of shots. It gives you such a good idea of how terrifying it must be to be a prey animal out here. Whew. And there she goes. Well, here she comes, rather, even better. Look at this. They are masters of stealth. And in this golden afternoon sunlight with this fresh burst of green, we are getting some wonderful, wonderful shots of her. I love the way when she stops, she gives her tail a little swagger from side to side. Something else we'll hopefully see during our time spent with her this afternoon will be her holding her tail up high up, almost above her back. It's a trait of hers. And it makes for, again, some beautiful screenshots. Well, thanks very much to Lynn, Happy Nightmare, and Boo Boo for reminding me that Karula means peaceful or peace. And this afternoon certainly is a good example of a very, very peaceful leopard. If you are joining for the first time, it's important that you know that usually these animals are extremely shy and elusive. However, here in the Sabi Sands, where over many, many years of good guiding practice, they've been assured by us as humans that we don't pose a threat to them, and we merely want to be allowed to spectate their interesting lives. Lots of parts of Africa will have leopards, but whether they allow you to view them or not is a very different thing. You've got a good idea now of the thick bush that she's heading into, but that's fine. We should be able to stay with her. She is on high alert. I'm just going to get a hold of Jors and Alan again, who are interested in getting into the sighting, but I fear they are going to battle too. I just can't talk at the moment because they're busy having a conversation with themselves. Guys, at the moment she's heading downstream in this drainage, and to follow in your vehicles is not going to be much fun. Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. Well done, Andrew. Some great camera work there, and aren't we lucky, everyone? And from the purple flower of the baboon stick lily, we had to drop the clutch and hustle on over here. And just before that I was saying, you never know what's going to happen and how things may change. And from stopping for the smaller things like flowers, which is so important, we got that wonderful message over the radio, and the excitement is now continuing. Okay, well, she's moving through very thick bush, so it's going to take some time for us to get ahead of her again, but we are going to stay with her, and we are going to send you to Steph on the bushwalk. Enjoy. Pleasant surprise that news is.
And welcome to this afternoon's bushwalk. And I am very happy to be back in front of the camera. For those who haven't met me, my name is Stefan Winterboer, and I am alongside with my compatriots James and Scott and Brent and Jamie. We bring you the safari experience that we bring you. Part of what I bring you out here is an on-foot experience. And being on foot is just such an amazing thing. You know, it takes places that we can't really do in the car. This is this place that we're at the moment, we're outside, alongside the drain line, close to Buffelshoek Dam. And it's a place that I haven't actually walked to in a long time. We decided to come and have a look here. We lost male lion tracks this morning that we were helping you find in this area, and we thought that we'd come. So it's Jandra on camera and myself here in front. And we've come to show you something quite interesting up here. But before I do that, I want to show you that just some things for those of you who get a bit of a fright seeing all of a sudden we've got a rifle with us at the moment. The rifle we use as a safety device. It's just a piece of safety equipment. We have to never use it. We won't put ourselves into compromised positions as much as possible. It's just with Andre wearing a backpack like he is at the moment. It's just a essential piece of safety equipment. But nevertheless, let me show you what we came to show you. This mass of sticks that you can see can you believe it? It's not common here, Jude. In actual fact, I don't know of any one except for this. And from a bird we see very often. In actual fact, this is the nest of a hammerkop. And just one pair build this enormous stand on that nest. Can withstand. They can stand the weight, probably about 70 kilograms or so. Can you believe that? And inside of that, it's hollow. And it's plastered on the inside. The hammerkop birds will bring mud and plaster the inside of a nesting cavity. And what they will then do is have their chicks inside and then vacate that nest and go and build another one in a different tree the next year. They don't even come back to this monstrosity. What I might ask Jandre to do is actually just step back a little bit and give you size of scale. I'll stand here at the tree how big. It is. I mean, it's easy.
Heavily on trying to pick the path of least resistance to keep us moving in her direction. So, well done, Andrew. But like I say, now we are probably going to have to do what is called a bit of bundu bashing, driving off-road. It's important to bear in mind when we do off-road, we are driving over trees that are flexible and springy and will very often pop back up. And it's the harder woods that we know of that would snap if we were to drive over them that we avoid at all costs. Otherwise, the areas we drive through now, which you can see are beautiful and no sign of vehicles off-roading, is because it is done properly by people which know which trees can handle a bit of a battering and which trees can't. Anyway, enough about that, and we are going to send you across to James. Enjoy the adventure with him until we get you into another good spot with Karula.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Wendy, where I'm driving at a frenetic pace. Just over there, you've been watching Karula. There are a number of vehicles there. We are now going excitedly towards where the Texon has just found the magnificent, if slightly canine-eating Madiba. So we're driving at great speed towards there. Texon's with him, his grandmother's over there. It's all happening over here. Certainly a lot more than it was happening earlier for me. I'm most excited. I'm just waving the radio like that because we need, guess how I'm going to get questions through. So, very good question. Viam was just asking the same thing. Kathy, what will happen if Karula and Sindile meet, or Madiba? Gosh, and there's more confusion on the name, which I'll explain when we get there. Kathy, if they met, I think there would be a fairly innocuous meeting, maybe a little bit of growling, but because she is his grandmother, Karula obviously is Madiba / Sindile / Shadow's Cub's grandmother, I don't think there'd be a huge amount of consternation in the meeting, and certainly there is. I have seen leopards, grandmothers recognize their grandchildren and not react in any kind of adverse way. So I think it would be quite an interesting meeting, really. I don't think it's going to happen. We're a little bit, well, Karula's quite far west into her territory at the moment, and she's over there, Madiba's over there, and so yeah, they could meet, I suppose, if Madiba decided to come this way. Right, now, right, we're going to go nipping straight across to Scott, who's got another view of magnificent Karula, grandmother to Madiba, and I will see you just a little bit later, hopefully with Madiba in sight. Bye-bye, good luck.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can all see, we have thankfully managed to weave our way through this thick bush and have got another great shot of Karula for you. She stopped for a few moments, again listening very intently, and as I mentioned earlier, she is very hungry, and that is probably what's driving. She seems very focused. And aren't we so fortunate to be following this leopard on a live safari here in Africa. I think it's easy for us to sometimes forget how wonderful this concept is, and I'm certainly one of those people. We are a part of an incredible thing that we should all just kind of slap ourselves on the cheek every now and then and appreciate how lucky we all are. Come on, Jigga. I'm happy to hear that you guys got a glimpse of where we were when you passed by with James. And he's also got some exciting prospects for the afternoon, I'm told. It's really great to be able to follow Karula through this area now, because I haven't followed her for quite some time and actually haven't spent at all much time with her. I've spent much more time with her two sons, Kunuma in quarantine, as well as her sons, or sorry, as well as her daughter Shadow and her cub Madiba. But Karula's been a bit evasive and elusive. I haven't seen her as much as I would have liked to, and by being able to following them along these paths, you get an idea of likely routes that they may take. They certainly won't patrol this route daily, but every now and then they'll move through very similar pathways, and if we have tracks of her heading from the direction where we've seen her earlier towards here, we may have an idea of likely paths in which to check for her tracks. Because it is very thick here, rather than forcing the issue and trying to get you more wonderful views, which of course we want to do, I'm going to try and hang back as much as possible, and that way make sure we don't flush off any potential prey, because obviously we don't want to have any impact on what's going on with their afternoon. And in the thicker bush, it's sometimes better to just let them get a little bit further ahead of you, and that way we can just read into her body language. When she's confident that there is nothing up ahead, then we can move forward, but at a reasonable distance behind her. So that's the method to my madness. And after her brief stop where she was earlier, sadly we couldn't show it to you because it was just too thick, but she's got up and carried on moving. And that's the cue for us to also continue moving, but following from about 40 meters behind. It can be a little bit risky because in this thick bush she could very easily disappear. She's stopped again, so we're going to stop as well and wait for her to let us know when we can continue moving. Oh, well, we've had a very, very interesting update from Julia, all the way in Houston. And I'm not sure if any of you have also spotted, but apparently she's got swollen teats. And it certainly could be the case. Like I said earlier, I have noticed a slightly saggy belly, characteristic of a female who is pregnant and getting ready to give birth. I don't think it's possible that she would have given birth already. She mated too recently, and it's about 100 days gestation period, so just over 3 months. So I don't think it's been quite long enough, but what we may be seeing are the initial signs of a lactating female. So I hope you're right, Judy. I'm going to take a closer look with my binoculars when I get a chance. But it's important for you guys to let us know all these tips, because you're often seeing a picture much more clearly than I am on my little monitor screen in front of me, as well as Andrew, who's got an even smaller viewfinder on the camera. So as you can see, she's stopped again, and once she moves from the spot where she is now, then I will feel comfortable to continue moving after her. Very good hunting habitat. Look at how thick it is here. I'm just going to try and get a hold of James quickly and let him know that Nikki is battling to get a hold of him in the final control room. But there's a lot of chitter and chatter on the radio this afternoon, which makes our lives very interesting because we've got a whole conversation going on in one ear and a whole other conversation going on with you guys. James, please try and contact FC. Okay, copy, I'll relay that. Well, James is trying his utmost to try and get a hold of the final control room. He's probably pulling whatever little hair he has left on his head out, as it is hugely frustrating, and he has been bearing the brunt of the radio issues in the vehicle. But the poor old directors in the final control room get it regardless of which afternoon or morning they're working. And hopefully Eugene, our tech wizard, will get to the bottom of that problem shortly. Okay, well, James is probably waiting to receive you, even though FC won't be able to let him know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell him that he's going to be live in about 20 seconds. But again, I just need to let him know that he is going to go live, and I have to wait now for the Game Drive channel for this to all happen. But like I've said, there is a lot of chatter on the radio, sadly. I'm guessing Nikki didn't copy the message as I just called out to her now, because she would have been trying to listen to the audio from his feed rather than the radio. James, be ready to go live. I'll let you know when you are. Okay, well, James is ready to go live, so that's great news. And you're going to go across and see another leopard. It's actually thanks to this leopard that you're going to see the leopard you're on the way to, but James will tell you more about that. Enjoy, and we're going to try and stay with Karula.
So that's the line up. The other one that comes from that side. James, you're alive, you're alive.
Hello everybody, welcome to this magnificent sighting of beautiful little Madiba. Now before I make a bit of a mess, just understand our communications are now totally defunct with the final control. I'm unable to talk to them, so your questions, I'm afraid, are going to have to wait. A little bit of information on this beautiful leopard whose grandmother you've just been watching with Scott. He is now sitting on Arathusa, not very far from where the infamous incident of the dog took place the other day. We will get hold now of the Sabi Sands, and they will come and dart him at some stage. Probably not today, maybe tomorrow. Now, he was looking a little bit sort of edgy when we came in, and I wondered why, and I wondered if he didn't perhaps have something to eat. You can see he's got a nice full belly. And yeah, so like I say, I can't communicate at all with the final control, but we'll just watch this magnificent little leopard sitting here. What's born? Nee, ndabona kahle. Chika soya. Nee, andi vulavuli xifana ka lowu. Ni vulavula xichangani kumbe xizulu. Xifana ka lowu a xi kahle. Andi vulavuli lexi. Oh, okay. I'm just going to go back a bit, everybody. So these guys can also have a look and see beautiful Madiba. There we go. So I've got that here. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to spend too long here because there are lots and lots of vehicles driving around the place. Okay. Running on charge.
Before I went back to the northern tunnel was that
You're going to lose.
the lineup. I know there's
You're going to lose visual quickly as they go past us.
lineup on the main road, but then I have to come in. So I think it's going to be first stand by now. Yeah, I know one of us, maybe over here, and WildEarth, we're three movements. You can take a second stand by and from there control the lineup. Everyone coming in.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? So everybody, I'm sorry about the lack of communication. There's really nothing we can do. And so what we're going to do is probably spend about 20 minutes here, and then we'll probably have to move on, because unfortunately there are lots of vehicles trying to get in here. But for the moment, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the update is on this young leopard. So he's now just about 13 months old. He's a magnificent looking beast, and his grandmother was Karula, who you've just been looking at, and wonderful to see her again. I'm sad that I didn't meet her today. And then the other thing you need to know is that it's been decided that his name will not be Madiba yet. There's been great consternation amongst the rangers of the West who found him, because apparently there wasn't sufficient consultation for the name, and so the great drama of the naming of this magnificent leopard continues. We at WildEarth, of course, have our own name for him. We did have, and so I'm going to leave it up to you to decide whether we call him Sindile, or whether we call him Shadow's Cub, or whether we call him Madiba, or indeed something else. Perhaps George is a good name for him, or Dark Shadow. That's Viam's favourite name. Yes, we could call him Dark Shadow, perhaps, or Phantom Assassin. Yes, Viam thinks Phantom Assassin is a good name. Viam, of course, is stark raving insane, so I'm not sure that we should go along with him, with his view, too much. So I'm going to leave it to you to tell Nikki, and Nikki will tell me when we get back to the fire this evening as to what we should call him. Seem to be getting a message from Nikki. So, just a very beautiful little leopard. And what's going to happen, for those of you who don't know, he did catch a domestic dog the other day. Now that was simply a situation born, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it's a situation born of the fact that there are huge numbers of poor people living outside the reserve. Some of them have domestic dogs. The dogs sometimes get in, sometimes they're part of poaching groups. Anyway, that's what happened, and he caught one of those dogs. There's always a fear of rabies in these areas, and he will be inoculated. We were initially very scared that they might have to destroy him if there was some kind of... I've got a phone call now from Nikki. Hello? I'm on the phone with Vicky, who's going to WhatsApp me the questions. Bye-bye. I'm afraid. Get it off my face and show them the leopard.
Yeah, and she appears to be heading up the western
Go away.
the drainage now.
Anyway, so he caught the dog, and like I say, there was the worry about rabies, and we were worried that he would have to be destroyed if it was found that the dog did have rabies. I don't know what the tests of the dog have been, but certainly little Madiba, Sindile, Shadow's Cub, George, Phantom Assassin, whatever you want to call him, is okay, and we'll just inoculate him. I wonder if they haven't inoculated him already. Maybe that's why he was a little bit skittish when we came in here. He's doing his favourite thing, of course, which is lie on a termite mound and be confiding and give us a wonderful thing. And then we have an amazing update. Again, I feel ashamed. Gilly in Milwaukee, you say you've heard that he was darted yesterday. Well, that'll be why he's looking a little bit sheepish about life. That's fascinating. I had no idea that they'd even found him yesterday. Certainly none of the rangers were told about it, or none of the ones I spoke to. So that's good news. So he's been darted, he's safe, and what the dart does, what they do there, everybody, is they will shoot him with an air dart, and the dart will go into his bottom, and as it goes into his bottom, it will immediately inject a substance called rabicin into it, and that will probably make him feel a little bit fluey for a day or two, but after that he'll feel absolutely fine, and he'll be inoculated forevermore, hopefully, against the ravages of rabies. I see now even my cellular telephone is no longer picking up signal. It would be very kind if Madiba, Sindile, Phantom Menace, whatever he is, would go into a more signal-rich area so that you could ask me questions or comment on this lovely, lovely little animal. I was so excited when I heard he'd been found today. I drove at a great speed. I lost Viam 4 times on the way here. Had to pick him up. We've strapped him down with a couple of cable ties, and he seems to be all right. So now he has heard. Apparently, he has been darted. Gilly says that. We're not sure if it's true, but there we go. If he hasn't been darted, he will be soon. Now, I see on my WhatsApp that the majority of you wish to revert to the name Sindile. I have to say, I'm greatly relieved. Henceforth, we at WildEarth and you will call him Sindile. And the fight, which was probably full of quite a fairly bruised egos in this area, will decide what they'll call him after that. I will keep you posted on that. We will put through Viam's 2 names for him, of course. What are they, Viam? Phantom Assassin and Dark Shadow. Makes a noise. What?
Cell phone.
And I'm sorry about you probably hearing the cell phone going ding, 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 ding. I have to put it there because it's the only place there's signal.
No. That's the worst place.
Yeah. So sorry about the noise from the cell phone, everybody. There's nothing we can do. I see Nikki Austin is typing. So there is a question coming through. She says, how long can we stay here? Nikki will probably be here about 20 minutes, I think. Certainly there is a lineup trying to get in here. I, of course, can't talk to them, but the other guys will keep me posted.
I'm going to grab cell phone. I'm getting 4 bars, 3G.
You've got MTN. Please excuse the sardonic sense of humour of Viam Doornbrach. He's a bit of a technical genius, you see, so he likes things to be just so. Isn't that beautiful? Right, another question. Dia in Miami. Oh, interesting question here. If a leopard were to have twins, would they have the same spot pattern? Dia, of course, twins, they do have twins often. They're just not identical. Remember that most litters have 2 to 3 in them. 1 will often die then, but 2 is quite a common number. And they are therefore twins, but they're not what we call monozygotic or identical twins. And I don't know if the incidence of monozygotic twins actually occurs in leopards. I really couldn't tell you. I certainly haven't seen it before. But yes, absolutely, in theory, they would have exactly the same spot pattern because their genetics are 100% the same in a monozygotic or identical twin. Good question. Thanks, dear. So just to, I think maybe just to expand a little bit on that, it's a very nice question. When leopards give birth, obviously they just like most cats and dogs, they give birth to multiple babies in the litter. And those are, of course, they are twins and triplets and quadruplets, which of course is very unusual in human beings. And certainly in lots of other animals. Most of the herbivores, it's extremely unusual for there to be twins and almost totally unheard of for there to be anything greater than twins. In the predators, not so much, because the size of the baby is that much smaller, and so that's the case there. The chances of them being in a monozygotic or identical twin, what happens is that instead of there being 2 eggs which are fertilized separately, that's what happens in a normal twin situation or in a normal litter. What happens in a monozygotic incident is that the embryo splits. So once the egg has been fertilized, it then splits into 2 embryos, and that's why they are identical. So they contain 100% the same genetic material. Fascinating study on twins all over the place. There's the Sabi Sands that has just arrived, and I wonder if they're not arriving to do what Billy has mentioned. I'll get an update from them, everybody. This is a little bit awkward. I'm now athletically straining to look here. You sent me an image. Nicola, I don't have full 3G Wi-Fi signal right here. Images are not going to work. I've got no idea what's going on with the lineup, so we just keep them posted when the next guy comes in. We are live.
It's just 2, so you're welcome to join. Okay, thanks. I'm coming from the position of a Belen eye on 3, so see you soon.
So this is a young kangaroo.
Andrew. I'm also here in the Bedford Road. But we just we haven't got visas over here. You can make your way.
Fellow.
We'll out to you again, but there's no visas at the moment. We're waiting for Scott to come close.
So it's a young male leopard. Again, he's in the perfect spot for photographs.
I'm waiting for a question to come through, everybody.
He's over a year old. Very beautiful cat. Unfortunately, I don't have a...
My phone says that Nikki is typing.
The exact date and all the rest.
That's late. You said young, I stopped the play.
But you're also young.
He's not afraid.
From a very early age, the leopards, they get to experience the vehicles, whether it be driving past, the sounds of the vehicle. So they become very used to the vehicles, habituated almost. So he's not afraid. But sometimes you're getting too quick.
I'm waiting for another question, everyone. I can see one coming through. It's just not happening at a great speed. Anyway, behind Madiba you can see that or Sindile or whatever he's now to be called. I think we'll leave him with the WildEarth name for now. You can see the golden light of the setting sun now starting to make its presence felt just behind him. Just stunning. We have no radio comms.
Oh, really?
Getting questions through the phone.
Have they not sorted your radio out?
No. There apparently isn't a radio genius in the world who's able to do it.
You need to make your system a little bit more, a little less complicated.
Perhaps.
Smoke signal.
Something down. I got all the questions. Right, here we go, a couple of questions. Helen in Arkansas. Do female leopards have different actions, traits, habits, etc. than make leopards? Nikki, that's male with an L, or vice versa. What are some of them? Yes, they definitely do have slightly different habits, of course. Males have much larger territories, but in essence they do have very similar marking ways. They both saw or growl and roar to mark their territories. They both spray urine to mark their territories. But the females, of course, tend to be much less physically aggressive with each other, because the territories that are set up next to each other are generally of related females, whereas the males are often not next to males that are the same, or are next to males that are related to each other, and so they tend to have far more, shall we say, vociferous, not often physical, but sometimes, but they're definitely much more angry interactions with each other. So Ellen, that's basically what happens there. But in terms of traits and habits, you know, leopards have very similar traits and habits dependent on their size and where they live and the amount of prey that they live in, and so not so much depend or determined by their sex. Males, of course, are also responsible for a huge number of deaths of cubs through infanticide, and obviously females far less so. But that's got to do with conflicting parentage and wondering what's going on with parents, and that's why males do that. And I'm so glad that all of you are relieved that he's okay. I'm also enormously relieved that he's fine. And I'm not convinced that he has been guarded yet. I'll tell you why, because there's a vehicle from the Sabi Sands parked behind us. I don't think they're going to do anything while the game drives are here. But we know well film that if the opportunity arises. I don't think it'll be traumatic at all. It'll just be really quite interesting to see. Anyway, we'll get some information from them. Changan kumbe Shizulu, Rashfana Galo.
Yeah, nakhuluma isichangana.
Beautiful sun there, isn't that wonderful? The orphan seems to be typing. I'm going to have to kill your comms again. This is the only place that I can get signal on my phone, so when you hear that it's because I'm getting a question from you, and VM's head goes a bright red colour whenever that happens. I'm sorry about this, VM, but there's nothing I can do. I think maybe film the leopard, it's more attractive than I am. I don't know why I've got this earpiece in my ear. It's like it's of any use whatsoever. So now there are only two of us left, which is rather exciting. Oh, question. And we may well go across to Scott just now, but I'll keep you posted. Now, we are in perfect communications at the moment, so you're welcome to send through questions. Well, not perfect ones, but I can certainly get them. So if you want to send through questions, #Safari Live. You know what, I could probably just load the Twitter handle instead of worrying with Nicola. If you would like to send through some questions, #Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv, and we can certainly see if we can answer them. Craig, what's the lineup? Hello Maggie on Twitter. You want to know if they are going to dart him? I don't know yet. I'm going to go and chat to the chap from the Sabi Sands as we pull out of here, and we'll ask them and see what they're going to do. I'm not sure. Certainly they might. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there, but it won't be a particularly traumatic experience for anyone concerned, so please don't be worried about it at all.
Workhole is on standby 1.
Where is he?
Gary Main Junction.
Okay. We'll pull out. And then, Bob G, you want to know who is going to apply the band-aid after he's been darted. I'm afraid he's going to have to do that himself by licking his wound. Now, I'm afraid we are going to have to leave here. We'll come back when all the people have cycled through here, and we'll come back and see if we can have another look at him a bit later on. But there are huge numbers of people making their way towards the sighting, because there's obviously an enormous amount of concern and interest in the fate of young Sindile, whose name I am now going to not forget because I know that one. And so we're going to gently make our way out as the golden light of the setting sun, you can see there, is enveloping what is, yes, I suppose he is quite an angelic leopard. Wonderful sighting, this. Okay, that's it for now, everybody. We'll try and come back a little bit later, and I'm going to try and get a little bit more. I'm going to get some information for you on the darting, and I will let you know about that now. Now, you will go to Scott at some stage. I will have no way of knowing if and when you are with him, so I'm going to pretend that you're still with me for now, and you will see Scott when you do, and me when you do as well. Okay. My little fella.
Welcome back, everyone, and Andrew and myself have had our work cut out for us following Karula in and out of this little riverbed, but she is somewhere just up to our right, and I think she is going to be approaching us shortly. Apologies from Nikki for rushing you away from James, but she's got absolutely no communication with him, so that's why he couldn't let you know exactly that you would be coming back to us. But happy to have you on board, and let's try and work out where Karula has gone. And I believe you all in on the fact that we've been using WhatsApp as the technology for comms this afternoon with James, so that's some interesting stuff that doesn't happen often. And again, just the joy of being on a live safari. I just got a glimpse of her, but I'm not going to get Andrew to try and show her to you because it is a little bit too thick there, and let's rather focus on trying to get into a good spot to continue following her. Well, that was a bad start. What is stopping us here? A little bit of a log. Oh, it's the small little log, so we're just going to use some speed to point us over. Oh, maybe not. Again, once more, a bit more speed. There we go. Sometimes you do just have to force it with these vehicles, but they are designed for it. Go ahead, Johan. Okay, copy. I did have a glimpse of her earlier between us. So she's not up on your side, she's definitely not here. She might be a little bit ahead of where we're going, but she was between us just a moment ago.
Yeah, we've got her here on the road.
Wonderful. Okay, great news. She's popped up onto Rebecca's road finally, and it's going to be a joyful moment getting back onto some smooth turf again. Catch the branches, everyone. Well, because you've been with us for quite a while now without seeing her, I'm going to give you the first opportunity we get, which is just about now. And we can at least show you a glimpse of her heading off to an area where I've always wanted to see a leopard go. And the reason being is there's a very big dead knobthorn tree that I've always wanted a leopard to perch up, and it's just up to her right. I'll show it to you now. You see that big knobthorn tree? If she climbs up there, we are going to have the best leopard sighting ever. There's also a leopard orchid up there. So a leopard with a leopard orchid in that dead tree with the golden afternoon lights could make for an incredible sighting. I think she's going to go up that tree with the leopard orchid in. I was just letting Jors know that I thought she would do that. He's a very keen photographer, and he's been coming here for 50 years, since he was a little boy, and he's got some incredible stories of the leopards of this area, and he really loves his photography, as I was saying, and I'd be so happy if we get some opportunities to photograph her up this tree. And it's still looking kind of promising. She's quite close to it. And the other vehicles kindly motioning that we can just sneak past them. Thanks very much, guys. I'm just going to get out of their way and into a good spot where you can see her, which is probably just about there. Wonderful. There might be a few branches in the way, but she's sitting up on a termite mound. Looks like she's catching her breath. You may notice she's punching gently, and she has been covering quite a lot of distance. Look at this wonderful shot, just like the kudu earlier, from the low angle. It really does make a massive difference. Look at the beautiful colors of the sky in the background. And just like dogs pant to cool down, so will leopard. They can't sweat like we do. So that's her cooling down. Well, I must say a very big thank you to Deborah in LA, who's one of the avid Safari Live viewers, and she's mentioned that there is reports of Karula mating in mid-May, which means she could well have a cub or cubs of 4 to 5 weeks of age. So thanks very much for reminding us of that, Deborah. Would you mind letting us know exactly where that happened and with which male? Because the last I heard was that she was mating with a skittish male, and that was in Buffels Hook, and that report actually came from Jors, who is in the sighting with us, who I was chatting about earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask him when he remembers that to be, because I don't remember it being that long ago, but maybe my filing cabinets have been a little bit rearranged and mixed up. But thanks so much for that information, Deborah, and like I said, if you could let us know any more info on that, it would be wonderful. If it is the case, it's unlikely that she would have gone 4 or 5 weeks without being seen with a cub. Females who are moving back and forward to a den site will very often make for easy tracking, because you have tracks going backwards and forwards into the same place time and time again, which leads you quite easily towards the den sites, even though it can often be in thick vegetation. Just try and creep forward a bit more and see if we can get you a different angle, and that way we'll make space for the vehicles behind us. Sorry, Andrew. I think this could work quite well. There we go. Andrew's happy. Well, it looks like she's slowly catching her breath, and the temperature's cooling down greatly every second that goes by. Please, can you come up this tree? She is heading towards the base of it, and there is a slim chance she is going to run up it. It will be the most amazing thing we could ever wish for. But no, I think she's going straight past it. But what it may mean is that she will go up to the next termite mound, which will leave her beautifully silhouetted with the setting golden sun. And watch closely here. I'm probably going to have to reposition again. This is going to be beautiful. Let me just see. No, we're not going to get an angle from here. Andrew's got some big bushes in the way, so let's hurry on up and try and get round. Just get the camera on her, please, Andrew. Oh, too late. There it is. That's what we were hoping for. Look at this. How awesome. Can you believe our luck? This is absolutely awesome. Oh, she must have seen something because she started off quite quickly. Interesting. I wonder what it could be. Well, wasn't that an absolutely beautiful, beautiful view of that wonderful leopard? Now, to see if we can stay with her, which is always a bit tricky, and we must bear in mind that it looked like she was possibly chasing after something. So we need to be as cautious as possible and as sensitive as possible, because we don't want to interfere in what goes on this afternoon. We don't either want to help her, neither disadvantage a prey animal or help a prey animal by chasing it away. So we want to try and remain as neutral as possible, and that means we're going to have to just stand by here. But Andrew will be able to zoom in a little bit and get you a closer view as she appears to be slowly stalking forward. She's absolutely poised and focused. And watch carefully. As she walks, she'll put each foot into the same place as the previous front foot. So her hind feet will fall into almost the exact same spot as her front feet, and that way it'll make sure she's not making too much noise. And the term for that is called the registering. So her tracks will register one on top of the other. So let's try and watch for that. What she also may do is just sit down and lower herself to the ground and wait for the scenario to become more favorable for her. I can't see what she might be stalking, but you certainly can see that she's completely focused. Look at how she holds her one foot up rather than placing it down unnecessarily. That was awesome. Well, because the vegetation here is very thick, it doesn't really make sense for us to reposition, because it would be highly unlikely that we could ever get into a position here where we could actually film the takedown. So I think it's more important for us just to hang around and see as much of this initial stalk as possible. And even if she successfully kills without us seeing, it means we get to enjoy what happens thereafter, whether she hoists the kill up into a tree, whether the hyena come in and give her a hard time. So just bear that in mind. Of course I want to show you as much as possible, but I don't want to get in her way. I wonder what it is that she's stalking. Wouldn't that be nice to know? Possibly a duiker or a steenbuck, two small antelope. Aren't we all so lucky to be following a leopard live on an actual hunt, getting to see her stalk through this vegetation? After seeing her silhouetted up on that termite mound, we are being absolutely spoiled rotten. And it's always worth remembering these magical moments when we are getting frustrated and can't find the animals we're looking for, because this makes every single moment worthwhile, all the hard work and quiet times in between. And it's wonderful to have many, many people all around the world enjoying this incredible stalk that we are witnessing. And I'm told the beautiful screenshots are flooding in, so keep them coming. Spread the word, show your friends. We need to get as many people involved in these magical moments as possible. I'm just going to give Andrew an update quickly. Andrew, there's a tambuti about 50 meters directly ahead of my vehicle. She's just slightly north and west of that, stalking something in a westerly direction. So Andrew's just joined the sighting, and it's important that we try and keep him as much in the loop as possible, as it can be quite frustrating when you arrive in a sighting and don't know what is going on. And it's important that he knows, look, there she's holding up her tail like I said she might do earlier. Look at that! Awesome. I've never seen her shake it like that. You'd swear it's some kind of a lure, and she's trying to hypnotize something into coming towards her. That is crazy. But I highly doubt that's the case, because if anything saw that tail wobbling, it would be off in a flash. So that was just a joke. But there are certain predators that will use a very similar motion and technique to lure in. Oof, this is looking good. Look at how she's flattening herself to the ground here. Epic. Oh, no ways. She's got such good cover in here. Is she gonna get lucky? There goes the tail again. Surely that's a bad habit, Karula. Put your tail down. think she must be close. She's showing so much signs of excitement. And she could blast off into the vegetation at any moment. I can't believe how lucky we've been to watch her stalk for so far. She's probably been on the stalk now for about 60 meters. And considering how thick the bush is, we're very lucky with the route she's been using. That tail of hers. Now, Nikki mentioned that it looked like she may be snarling or hissing at something. So who knows, maybe another leopard could pop out at this rate. Look at how she's flapping her ears. Or is she just getting closer to the ground in anticipation for prey that may be approaching her? Very, very interesting stuff, this. What is going to pop out of the bushes in front of her? It's not uncommon for predators like leopard and lion, especially at this stage of the evening. Once they do get close to their prey, rather than blundering a good opportunity, they can often wait for darkness or less light, which will aid them with their great night vision and disadvantage their prey. So that may be the case. The other thing that she may be doing is simply waiting for prey that could be approaching her. Thanks, Andrew, for showing us a little bit of the surrounding scenery here that she's been hunting through. And isn't it crazy how after all that excitement it seemed like she was just about to pounce. She's laid down as if she wasn't doing anything remotely like hunting earlier. But that tail's still telling a story, if only we knew exactly what it meant. It seems to be more prone to jiggle to the right than to the left, though. Although yeah, she's definitely tending to the right. It's as if she's got earphones plugged in and she's listening to music. But that's certainly not the case. Oh, her head's just pricked up. What's happened? Did you see that, everyone? Oh, things are looking good again. Things are looking good. What is in there? And I think Johan could see whatever it was that was up ahead there, because I just heard him saying he could see something running away. So, also judging by her body language, while she's holding her head up high, I don't think they're close anymore. And we're going to have to now reposition and work out what to do next. But wasn't that so awesome? It started up to our right on this termite mound where she was beautifully silhouetted, and then shortly after that she rocketed down the hill and the stalk began. Very often stalks will be unsuccessful, and that's something, especially for the newer viewers, that you should get to know quite soon. You shouldn't feel sorry for the leopard, because they are used to succeeding probably only 10 to 20% out of all of their attempted hunts. And the reason for that is that it makes sense for their prey to have evolved and learned how to avoid being eaten. Otherwise there wouldn't be any of them around on the planet at the moment. So that's a kind of simple way of looking at it. It makes more sense for the predators to battle for their food than for the prey to be easy victims. Otherwise the leopards would just become overweight and unhealthy. Okay, so the guys are just pointing up to our right, and I'm not sure if we are going to be able to cross up there. I think we'll be able to give it a try. That was lekker, hey?
Yeah, cool. Lekker.
Cheers, guys. What was it that she was after? Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So some of you may have heard me saying that was lekker, which kind of means cool. The actual word in Afrikaans is sweet. So it can be used as that was good or awesome. And Johan, who was driving that vehicle, is an Afrikaans gentleman. So I just thought I'd chat in his local lingo. And he did also mention that she was after 2 little steenbok. So that was what she was hoping to snack on for dinner, but she's going to have to look for something else or possibly continue pursuing them. And we've got Lucky again. She's still in our view. Just parked at a bit of a funny angle, so Andrew's had to level off the camera. And now he can take you in for a closer look. Once a predator, like a lion or a leopard, even cheetah or wild dog, once their prey has detected them and run off, they've basically got zero chance of catching them again. They rely almost completely on the element of surprise and ambush. The wild dog is slightly different in that they can chase their prey down for very long distances, so maybe I shouldn't have used them as an example. But certainly lion and leopard, they need to be very close to their prey and only chase for very short bursts, at most maybe 50 or 50 meters. Whereas cheetah can chase for slightly further than that and slightly longer. But for her to continue now running after these paranoid steenbok wouldn't make sense for her, and it kind of would be more beneficial for her to move off to another area and see if she can find any unsuspecting victims. Okay, well, I've just got some very, very interesting news today, and we're going to keep an eye on Karula, who's sitting facing down into the drainage line. And the interesting news is that because Madiba has been found, some of you may be aware of the fact that he did catch a domestic dog that had broken into the reserve. It was a few days ago, and the large risk that domestic dogs carry in this area is rabies. And just the very brief interaction that Madiba had with that domestic dog, he caught it and carried it up into a tree. Actually didn't kill the dog, but carried it up into a tree. The dog was playing dead, but in the process of catching it and biting onto it, it could well have contracted rabies had that dog have had rabies. Now the dog has been sent off, it was exterminated, and it has been sent off for rabies tests. And in the meantime though, rather than waiting for those tests to come back, the Sabi Sands Wildtuin, which is the operation that runs the entire Sabi Sands Reserve, and the vets within this organization have decided to inoculate him against rabies. And that is actually going to be done this evening, and it's something that we thought we would actually like to try and share with you. It's something bizarre, it's something that I've never seen happen, so you will be seeing something potentially that I've never seen before. And basically what they're going to do is they've got a dart with the rabies inoculation, and they will shoot it into Madiba's bottom in all likelihood, or that's where they're hoping to be aiming. And the dart will self-inject, so upon impact it injects the inoculation, and in all likelihood Madiba will then irritatedly pull or scratch the dart out, or within 45 minutes it's got a self-releasing mechanism, so it pops out of the leopard. Of course, just like when we get an injection, Madiba is going to get a little bit of a fright, so we could expect him to possibly pounce, or who knows, maybe he'll just look around and act like nothing's never happened. But we've got to remember that it's critical that this does happen. If he is not inoculated, and that dog was rabies, or was rabid, and he gets rabies, he too will have to be shot. And that, of course, is the last thing we want. And we need to send you across there now, so be ready for some action. We don't know what's going to happen, but it is highly necessary. See you later.
Okay, everybody, we've been given permission to film Sindile having his inoculation. He's going to be inoculated now. So I'm going to be very quiet and you're just going to watch.
Go for it, Edwin.
So just keep an eye on the leopard. He will run. He will probably run. It will sting him. So it won't be very nice for him. But don't worry, he will be fine. I'm just going to be very quiet. He's definitely quite suspicious. There's a dart gun sticking out of the other vehicle. Just keep watching. Here we go. Yeah, we might want to be a little bit wider. I don't know. I think he's going to leap like a scalded cat. Here we go. I think there was a misfire. Yeah, there was definitely a misfire. I think the gas canister in the dart gun did not go off. So she's just replacing it. These are highly competent people here. So we're just going to wait patiently and watch. So everybody, please don't be alarmed if he does get up and run. He will probably disappear out of screen faster than the frames can pick him up. But don't be alarmed by that. It's entirely fine. Okay. You're going to keep trying? Okay. So there is a jam in the dart gun, everyone. They've got to try and push it out manually, so stand by. If Karula does anything truly spectacular, we will record this regardless. So don't worry, you won't miss it. If Karula does something spectacular, we'll probably cross back to her. But unfortunately, I still don't think I have any radio communication, so I'm just going to quickly check if I can get Nikki at all. Nikki, do you copy? It's a miracle, everybody. There is a working radio connection. This is great news. So you can now talk to me on the Twitter. Liam's going to keep his camera trained on the leopard. The Sabi Sands guys are just going out to try and reload the dart gun, which is being recalcitrant. It's a very complex piece of equipment. Well, I'm not really copying her, I'm afraid. It's about 0 out of 5. Are you getting her at all? 2 out of 5. What's she saying?
Don't know.
Don't know.
I only got the end and the east parts.
Okay, everybody. Nikki, I can't hear you. Sindile's little ears are bent down like that because there seem to be some franklins knocking about the place. I also think there is a buffalo or two the other side of that other vehicle. There's another vehicle in the sighting, and there seems to be a buffalo there, and so he's just got his ears in that kind of stalk mode. Nikki, if you want to talk with me, WhatsApp's the way to go, I'm afraid. Or you can phone. So that was a bit of an anticlimax. I did hear a little kind of from the back from the dart gun, and clearly it wasn't functioning as it should. Now what we don't want is for him to get up and move. They do need daylight to do it. So if it becomes dark, I think they'll probably try again tomorrow. So the Sabi Sands are just reversed out. You can perhaps hear the sound of their engine They're just trying to fix it up. And an interesting question from Barb G. Who applies the from Lynn. The Barb, we got if darting will change his view on people and vehicles. Lynn, it might very briefly. I don't know that he'll associate the sting that he's going to get on his rump with the vehicle. He might, but I don't think it won't affect him in the long term. I think he'll forget about it pretty quickly. Maybe tomorrow he'll be a little bit nervous and we'll have to approach him a bit more carefully, but I don't think that there will be a huge difference. There is an image from Nicola coming through. I don't know what on earth it says, but I'm waiting for it. In the meanwhile, what a privilege to spend yet more time with magnificent little Sindile. Here we go. Here's the question. Come through an image. I'll just read it. And little Isabella, aged 4, you want to know why they don't give him a band-aid. It will make him feel better. Isabella, leopards don't like band-aids, you know. They're so clever at healing themselves that it just doesn't really hurt them and enough to warrant us putting a band-aid on. And they've also got fur, of course, and that means that a band-aid really won't stick very well, even if we could get close enough to put a band-aid on him. And then Elise in Colorado, are leopards inoculated for rabies and other diseases routinely, or is it only after they've been possibly exposed? Elise, it's only after a possible exposure. It's not done routinely. We try and interfere as little as possible with all of the animals in the bush here. It's only when there's an anthropogenic harm done, and obviously a domestic dog would be considered an anthropogenic effect or an anthropogenic threat to an animal, and that is why they are that's why they're going to inoculate him. It is possible that some leopards eat a domestic dog. We don't see it, and that is an absolute worry, and certainly it's possible. And certainly with that, the leopard you saw, some of you would have seen that Sindile pulled that dog up into the top of a tree, and so it became pretty obvious. And the leopards we see quite a lot. With a lion, though, I wonder what he's definitely spotted something, maybe a squirrel or a duiker or maybe another francolin. But what leopards definitely do, at least what lions definitely do, is that if they caught a domestic dog, they would devour it in seconds and you wouldn't know. And so that is a worry. Whereas leopard, because we spend so much time with them and they eat a little more slowly, chances are you'd find them with the dog. But lions, that happen so fast. Anyway, we're still waiting. There's clearly some problem with the dart gun. So I don't think we'll wait for too much longer, because if we do have to, it's going to get dark, and that's obviously going to be an issue. They won't shoot him during the dark. And by shoot I mean dart, everybody, don't worry. I rather hope they do it now, because look, looks like he's going to try and stalk something.
There's a francolin.
Is there a francolin? Viam can see a francolin. There they are. Little crested francolins making their way off. I've seen francolins walk right up to this leopard. He just looks at them. Others have been obviously made dinner of. Now this other fellow is going to leave. Whether or not they get the dart gun to work, I don't know, but we'll hang around and just see what they do. I think it's well worth our while, and even if you have to go back to Karula, I of course won't know if you've gone back to Karula. You may be back with them now, but if you if you do go back to Karula, we are recording, and we'll definitely make sure to show you on a highlights reel if and when this great event occurs. Here they come, they're coming back. They may, of course, just go straight past because the dot. No, they're coming back in. Now, what this fellow is going to do, I couldn't tell you. So there's another car driving past us. That's why you're having to stare down my left ear. Thank you for that, Viam. I hope I've cleaned it. Cleanish. There we go. Right, so that car's leaving. We're going to put our sights back on magnificent little Sindile, and the Sabi Sands guys will come back in now. It's really on the edge of whether we'll be able to get him today now with the light available. The slowness with which that other chap is leaving is not helping the matter at all, and now he's stopped to have an enormous chat. Anyway, here we go. Action stations, everybody. Okay, Nikki has asked for a link to Karula, but I think they're about to try and dart him again, so we're going to stay here. I'm not sure if you are live or if you are not live. I couldn't begin to tell you at this stage. I suspect these guys are going to drive around the back of him so that they can get at his backside. There we go. Right. It's actually a perfect view for us. Sindile, put your head down. This is going to hurt. Little sting. Little. Okay, here we go. I will tell you, the little dart gun's sticking out of the window now. Sindile has his backside turned. Conditions are perfect. My heart is beating. I feel really tense about this. She's taking aim. Got him. Got him. I think. Okay, I'm just going to move back a little bit. We have got a view of him. I don't know if it hit him or not. Coming forward.
There you go.
Oh, there he goes, he's running. He's running now. Okay, everybody, that's it for us, I'm afraid. We're going to just, you can see his spots there. I can't see if it's hitting or not. We're going to have a quick look and see. Okay.
I don't see anything in his right hand side.
Okay.
But people really dropped.
Any luck? He's just gone round the side. Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to hand you back to Scott now. We may try and help these guys find him again, but I don't think we need to drag you along for the ride. If anything else exciting happens, we will record it and we'll send it over to you. So we're going to go across to Scott now, and I'll keep you posted. Very exciting afternoon. I think they did miss, unfortunately. Very difficult to shoot with those things. We'll see you just now. Maybe move the camera off me.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can hear, I am snapping off a few photographs because this is just too beautiful. She hasn't moved at all far from where we last left her, and it sounds like it's been a bit of a circus across with James and the darting of Madiba. Oh, that was the moment I was waiting for, but I missed it. And you can hear Andrew laughing happily as he forgot his camera at home. But as James said, it sounds like they missed with the dart, so now they probably have the fun job of trying to relocate that dart, as they probably only have one of them, I'm guessing. So I hope they do find it and they do manage to reload it and get Madiba inoculated sooner rather than later. Failing that, tomorrow is another day, and I guess you guys are fortunate enough to have been involved in the antics that have just unfolded. Like I said, I've never experienced anything like that. Although, in my time, there certainly have been some interesting moments out here in the bush. I'm not going to rush because we are parked in. Andrew's vehicle's just up ahead of us here, and he's just allowing his guests to enjoy a view as Karula makes her way out of this little riverbed where she was taking a snooze. Sorry guys. Just smack the bush into all of your faces. Andrew's just going to get out the lens cloth and give it a good old wipe to make sure you still have some crystal clear images. I'm not too sure where she's gone, but I'm confident we'll find her again. Oh, I've just seen her, and she is just up ahead of us, so we'll be able to give you a view of her again shortly. And what I might do is actually just stop right here. Oh, no. She's run off from the spot where she was. Poor old Andrew's having a hard time turning around his limousine, which you just got a glimpse of moving through the shot. Great, well, the action continues, and you couldn't have come back at a better time. She was literally sleeping, eyes closed, other than every now and then she'd open them up, have a look around, and within 1 minute of you being back, she decided to start showing off for you again. And I certainly didn't think we were going to have an action-packed afternoon like we're enjoying now after the fairly quiet drive predator-wise this morning. She's directly ahead of us. I'm just trying to think what the best course of action is now, but we're probably just going to have to follow her from here. There's some exciting news that I'll share with you, and we can just make sure there isn't any potential prey up ahead here. She has stopped and is listening intently again, so we'll use her cue to stop for us to also stop. And Nikki and Jess are putting together a clip for you guys in the final control room in slow motion, and you're going to be able to watch the attempted darting of Madiba, and it's a nice short clip, and you'll all be able to see in slow-mo exactly how far the marksman missed by. They're difficult things to use, dart guns, because the darts don't travel as true and as far as a regular bullet would. So they do have a few excuses, but the good news is you're not going to have to wait any longer to see that slow motion clip. I wish I was watching it too, but I will get to watch it later. Anyway, enjoy, and next time you join us, we'll hopefully be ahead of Karula again. Well, isn't it wonderful that we got to show you that action again? Sounded like a narrow miss, and maybe whoever was trying to, or had the role of darting it, couldn't handle the pressure of the cameras, as a lot of people take some time to get used to it, so at least they'll have an excuse really for themselves with that. Now, it's a tricky area, this, because it is thick, and I want to just try and keep her in sight, but not again interfere in her evening's plans. If it does get to a point where we need to use a spotlight to view her, I think what we may do is actually rather decide to move out of the sighting and go and look for something else. She is hungry, and I think it's best we leave her to hunt under cover of darkness without any distractions, but it's not there yet. Now, again, if any of you did join the show very recently and didn't get the full explanation as to why that leopard is being darted, it's basically to ensure that its own life is protected. It attacked a domestic dog with rabies, and rabies is an exceptionally dangerous disease, and if the leopard was to get it, it too would need to be exterminated. The risk of the rabies spreading through all the wild animals in this reserve is catastrophic, and that is why the only way to deal with them once they do in fact have it is to kill them. So that injection or dart is merely an inoculation to make sure it didn't contract it. And the very small, the very minute amounts of trauma or stress that it will go through is obviously certainly worth that animal's life. And we spend so many hours day in and day out with the leopards and the lions. Every now and then, if we do something a bit nasty to them, i.e. shoot a dart into their bottom, they will in all likelihood forgive us. They certainly will forgive us, because it's a random event that happens so infrequently. So that's just to fill any of the newer viewers in, and there are people joining in and jumping off the safari throughout the 3-hour show, so that's why we have to keep everyone well updated. I'm leaving Johan to keep an eye on her, as we've already had so many good views of her this afternoon, and I'm trying to loop ahead and stay on the periphery. Just keep an eye out for any potential prey, so I can alert Johan, the other person in the sighting, if he needs to switch off his vehicle so that we don't interfere. So that's the plan. We may still get some more views of her, but no guarantees, and that is life on safari. Nothing is guaranteed, and that is the beauty of it. Got to be careful of aardvark holes in this area. There are a few that I saw behind us, which are excavations made under the ground by a nocturnal ant bear, essentially. Have you still got her there, Johan, or is she headed further west? Okay, copy, thanks. Well, Johan has lost sight of her, but we'll keep moving through this general area, and maybe we'll bump into her again. Probably slowly start weaving our way back to the road. Look at the beautiful colors out to the west. Now back to the topic of Madiba and his rabies inoculation. Sandy is interested to know if he will be inoculated again in a couple of weeks. And as far as I'm aware, there will be a follow-up in 21 days. Those are the exact words used by somebody called Mike, who's aware of the ongoings for this operation. And whether that follow-up is a follow-up dart or another further inoculation, or merely a follow-up to monitor its condition, I'm unaware of, but it is something we will be able to find out more of, and I'm sure James, who is there with them, will be able to find out some more interesting info for you. I've heard terrible stories of entire packs of wild dog being wiped out due to rabies, and basically just one member of a wild dog pack will need to have a fight with a domestic dog, contracts rabies. They're such social animals that they kiss and lick the other pack members, and that is how rabies is best transmitted, through saliva. And within a very short period of time, the whole pack will become rabid and either die of natural causes or have to be exterminated because they become very, very aggressive even towards humans. I heard of a story of one attacking a vehicle, going crazy on the tire, and isn't it sad how this disease can have such a radically negative impact on the animals' lives? And be it lion or leopard or wild dog, if any animal does contract rabies, just to further reiterate, they will need to be exterminated for human protection, as a rabid animal is very dangerous, and then for protection of all the other animals in that area. If the rabies was to spread between all the leopards and all the lions, they would all eventually die. So it's a hugely important thing to address seriously, and I'm very glad that the Sabi Sands have managed to, or at least attempt to for now, get this leopard inoculated. Come on, Karula. So we've thankfully popped out onto a road. That's a pleasant surprise. And so we get the little side lights out and ready. And get ready for the nocturnal safari. Right. There we go. Karula, where are you hiding? So, I wonder if she hasn't headed down towards Treehouse Dam. I think we should go and check there. Yeah, and I'm going to go down and check Treehouse Dam. Okay, so just letting Johan know my plans. Okay, copy, thanks Johan. And he let me know his. He's going to stay in this area. And she may have just slunk in the bushes between us. Okay, copy, great. I'll still just check the dam in case. So, good news. It sounds like there's some impala. And what Johan is doing is he's just going to stand by in that area. There's a strong chance she is there, and she could be trying to stalk them. I'll wait for further darkness. But rather than us going and crashing in there, let's rather leave her to her hunting, and if she is successful, we'll rush back in there. There's also a chance she's come for a drink of water at Treehouse Dam, which is just nearby here. So that's good news. I'm just going to switch off and freewheel down this hill for a short moment. Listen to all the cicadas. I wonder if we can find you one. They are incredibly well camouflaged little insects, and I fear I may have just opened myself up for a disaster to try and find you one, but let's just do it. They are so loud. There's some I can hear down to my right, and I'm just going to get my flashlight out and see if we can't find you any. Just making sure, of course, Karula's not anywhere behind us or nearby, because we wouldn't like to become part of her dinner menu. I heard one calling. It sounded like it was right down here, very close to the ground, interestingly, and they can be perched in all different places, up in the trees, down and fallen down logs and branches like this. The ones that were calling here have now stopped, and maybe that's the result of me getting out the vehicle. And like I said earlier, I think I've just opened myself up here for disappointment, as the chance of finding one of these cicadas is very slim. So at least we tried, and that's what's making this loud shrill noise. It's certainly one of the sounds of summer, and I think what that did was kill some time to give Karula a moment to get down to the treehouse waterhole for a drink. It's cooled down beautifully now, and it's certainly not 30 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit like it was when we started the safari, probably closer to 20 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure exactly what that equates to in Fahrenheit, as here in South Africa we use the degrees Celsius measurement. Earlier when we were off-roading, I mentioned that we need to be careful that we don't fall into an aardvark burrow or hole, and Rudy in California, who asked where they live just the other day, has now asked, do they live in there during the day? And yes, most certainly, Rudy, in this area of South Africa they spend their days within the burrows and only come out typically late at night. I've seen very few aardvark in the Sabi Sands. I think only one actually that we spotted late on a staff night, but a glimpse nonetheless. Although, Rudy, in some areas of Africa you'll find that aardvarks come out during late evening. They can be crepuscular. And Karula is not here. I'm going to shine the torch around the periphery of the dam just so we can make sure. But I have had a look earlier and she's nowhere to be seen. So I think she could still well be hunting these impala. And that could take quite some time at this stage of the evening. It's not quite dark, it's getting there. And like I said earlier, she'll know that if she's close to those impala, it's going to be worth waiting just another 15 or 20 minutes for pitch black. It's not going to be exactly pitch black because there's a slight sliver of the moon, but it's ever so slight. Even that will give some ambient light to the prey animals and helping them to see. Andrew's gone for a very cool option here, and he is attempting a bold move to show you the reflection of the small moon in the water.
Maybe too bold.
Yeah, sorry Andrew, I think that slight breeze ruined your plans. But again, that is the beauty of being on a live safari. You get to enjoy the moments of joy and the small little blunders in between which happen on a daily basis. So, no sign of Karula here. I think we should carry on and leave here. We're going to stay in the general area. We're going to stay in the general area in case Johan does get lucky. I'm just going to let him know though that she is not down at the waterhole. Johan, no sign of her down here at the waterhole. Sandy in Tennessee, good afternoon, or good evening rather, and welcome on board the evening safari. Now, Sandy's interested to know hold on there Andrew, we'll get to it later, but there is something in this little bush that I cannot wait to show you. Sandy's interested to know, do I prefer the bushwalks or being in the vehicle? Some of you may have seen me do a few bushwalks yesterday and a little brief stint this morning, Stefan this afternoon, and it's a very tricky question, Sandy, and they're two very different experiences, and that's why I like to say I like them equally. And in an ideal world I would do a morning walk and an afternoon drive, so a complete 50-50 split between the two. The morning is for me the best time to walk because you've got the freshest, most crisp tracks of all the predators that have been moving mainly at night. So the morning is the best time for being on foot and tracking, which is what I love. And then in the afternoon you head out in the vehicle with a cooler box packed with drinks, and you go and enjoy the sightings that you found or established whilst being on foot in the morning. And that allows you very different experiences. On foot it's an adrenaline rush. It's also very peaceful and calming. It's not always high adrenaline. You very seldom actually bump into dangerous animals, and it can be very soothing walking through the African wilderness. Whereas on the vehicles it's a little bit more mechanic and modern, and the sound of the engine and crashing through bushes and driving around is obviously different. It's necessary to get you close to those animals, and it's possible to get much closer in a vehicle than on foot. And when you get up close to them, you get to appreciate seeing beautiful things like Karula stalking this evening. We would have been unlikely to be able to follow her on foot for the whole afternoon and see all those things that we got to see. So on the vehicle, photos, great sightings. On foot, different experiences, finding your sightings for the afternoon. That would be ideal for me. Now, this is an animal that I've been hoping to show you for quite some time. You need to search for it in this little bush ahead of us, and Andrew will take you on a tour. And who is going to be the first of you to spot the animal? And get your tweet into #SafariLive or email questions@wildearth.tv. The prize is a invisible certificate that I will send to you in the post. What have we here? Well, I'm sure you guys have started to see it now. It's a little chameleon. Finally, we've got to show you one. We've been speaking about it for days. And what a great view it is. It was probably falling asleep or about to go to sleep, so I don't want to stay here too long. You can see its eye moving there, and interestingly, it can move its eye omnidirectionally, meaning one eye can be looking in one direction and the one in completely other. and one can be looking forwards, backwards, and I'm guessing the one on the other side of the head that we cannot see is probably looking in the direct opposite movements. Oh, you just saw a very slight tilt of the right eye that we cannot see very clearly, and the little tail curled up perfectly. And this is called a flap-necked chameleon. It's sitting in a small magic guarri bush, and it'll probably get about 2 times the size of this. It's probably only 1.5 inches long in terms of its body size, and then double that with its tail. And I look forward to finding you all different shapes and sized ones. We will hopefully get to find you the tiniest of new hatchlings, which will be popping up soon, as well as the bigger ones, which will be about 6 inches in body length. Great. Well, like I said, it is in the process of going to sleep, or already asleep, well, that we woke up, so we don't want to spend too long here and disturb it. But isn't that wonderful? That, I think, is our first chameleon of the summer. Okay, so I think we're going to send you across to James for an update on what he's been up to. Good news, enjoy that, and we will try and find you something else that's interesting before we say goodbye.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Wendy here. Sorry, a bit of mild panic because I had to plug in my earpiece. Right, there is a magnificent hyena having a drink here at WildEarth Dam, and we're just going to have a quick look at him, or her, or it. I can't tell at this stage what it is. And it's going straight towards WildEarth, the camp, and then on towards Nikki and Jessica in the final control, where I suspect it's going to ask a few questions about the broadcast and the radio issues. And this is what hyenas do. People think of them as living in big clans, and they do of course live in clans, but they forage a huge amount alone in the evenings, and that's why that hyena is on its own. And we find their tracks all over the roads in the mornings, and that's why. They like the roads, because they are devoid of spiky vegetation, for the same reason that we like the roads. There it is, disappearing off behind a marula tree, walking with great peace. Shall we follow him a bit, Liam? We'll just try and follow him, see where he goes. We might end up in the final control, walking directly to those lights you can see. That's beautiful WildEarth camp. It's a lovely camp at Djuma. A couple of impala over there, just watching the hyena. And they're not alarm calling, because the hyena is very clearly kind of just foraging along. It's not in any way indicating by its behavior that it's about to stalk. So we see a little bit of infrastructure here. What is very interesting is inured that the animals become to human habitation and the infrastructure that we just engage the low range. Totally north past the camp. Looking in, seeing maybe there's a bed for the night, possibly smelling a nicer fillet on the braai or barbecue. And now turning directly towards the final control. Just in the bushes there. And you can hear the voices from the camp. I think this is Nikki's favourite. I think that's what she just said to me. No, not Nikki's favourite at all. I'm going to admonish severely in my left ear. It is Jess's favourite, not Nikki's. Let's see if we can have another look, and then I'm going to explain to you what went down with the darting. I think you had, there he is, I think you had a view of the first darting incident, then there was a second one, marginally more successful, which I think we showed you the replay of. I'm just going to explain exactly what happened there once this hyena loped off into the night. Nice colour in the sky there, so maybe this is a good place to stop. What say you, Boone? I'll leave the light on as the hyena disappears there. Right, now I'm just going to readjust this earpiece because it's in the wrong ear, of course, and then I'm going to place myself upon the dashboard. I have got so many wires attached to various parts of my person, and the radios and bits of me. I think there might be some internally actually as a function of this drive. Anyway, there he goes. Right, yeah. Is that good for you, Vil? Okay, good. Thank you. Sardonic, okay, says Viam. Right, so let me just explain what happened. So we were in that sighting. You saw exactly that Sindile was sitting on top of the termite mound. And for those of you who've just tuned in and are perhaps confused, he's no longer Madiba. It's all a very confusing, rather ego-driven process. We're going to stick with our name, Sindile. That's a much better name, I think, anyway. Now, what happened was he was lying on the termite mound. The Sabi sands came into the area, and he was lying perfectly, actually. His bottom was exposed, and what she did, Candace, this is the ecologist from the Sabi sands, she stuck the dart gun out of the window and she fired, and unfortunately what happened with the first dart is that it hit a stick on its way through, and that flipped it up, and that's why it didn't hit. It just went over the top of him and hit the termite, something hit the termite mound behind him, but the dart itself fell off, and it immediately expelled its rabicin or anti-rabies vaccine. And Sindile got a fright. He didn't feel anything. He got a fright. He looked up. He obviously shot up like a scalded cat, ran, and then he stopped and he looked. And I'll tell you the difference between when he was actually hit with it compared with his reaction there. So then he walked off, and he was a little bit suspicious, but not too bad. And then he went around the corner, through a little drainage line, and he lay down. And we then went around with the other vehicle, with the Sabi Sands guys, and unfortunately we couldn't get a very clear shot of him being shot. And we did see him, we heard the shot going boop, and then we saw the leopard explode from where he was sitting, and he disappeared off into the bush. So the second shot was completely successful. Now what happens with that dart is it's got a little gel cap on it, and either the rabicin would have been immediately expelled as it hit him, because there's a special plunger in it, and what would have happened is that he would then bite it out, or what would happen is that the little gel cap will disintegrate and the dart will fall out and he will be unharmed. Now, he will have to be redone if that dog is found to be rabid, and we don't know if it is or not, but we'll keep you posted. But a successful day for Sindile. So that was a marvelous drive, wasn't it? Beautiful Karula. Thank you to Karula for taking the bulk of the drive while we had our communications difficulties. A big thank you to Viam on the camera. Thank you, Viam, for your sardonic wit and excellent handling of the camera. It was very amusing. Thank you to the bushwalk, Stefan, and I think Jean-Andre was filming him there. And then thanks, of course, to Scott. And no, it wasn't Jean-Andre. I don't know what's... Oh, Scott and Andrew were out on the other vehicle, that's right. And a big thank you to the Final Control, who've had a trying time. Nikki and Jess and Eugene in his little tin hut. That's it from Africa for this evening. Beautiful sighting of two wonderful leopards, grandmother and son. And we will see you in the beauty of tomorrow's African dawn. I hope you are happy, well, safe, and very glad wherever you happen to find yourself on beautiful planet Earth. Bye-bye, and see you tomorrow.